Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, helping you to live in tune with the natural cycles of the moon. This is your astrology horoscope for the new moon in Aries, which occurs on Friday, April 1st, 2022 at 2:24 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, what I think this new moon is really all about is about us overcoming a lot of fears, keeping us stuck and preventing us from moving forward into some new, different, and better chapter of life, so that this time we can actually move forward into some new, different, and better chapter of life that I've been talking about for quite some time. If you want to hear more about that, please do stay tuned because I'm going to hop into it right now. In order to get started talking about this new moon, though, what I always like to do first is place it on the chart just so that you can see what it is that I'm referring to in this video and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is for the new moon in Aries. And that's what this chart is for, I should note. You know that this chart is for the new moon in Aries because I have the moon and the sun here at the same degree, 11 degrees in the same sign of Aries. And when the moon and the sun come together like this, that is what is considered a new moon. Okay, now what are new moons all about? New moons are really all about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts here. Okay, because they do begin a new lunar month and a new lunar cycle. What are we getting? New energy, a fresh start, or some more momentum in order to do Aries, because that's the sign that the new moon is in. What is Aries all about? A few things. Aries, I should note, is the first sign of the zodiac here. First sign of the zodiac is a lot about new beginnings, fresh starts here. Kind of correlates to what a new moon is about itself. So what does that mean to me so far? It means to me that at this new moon in Aries, we are getting a new beginning and a fresh start to have a new beginning and to have a fresh start here and to embark on, I think, a very significant new cycle of our life from here on out that I've really been talking about for a while. Okay, not only that, but I should also note too that Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, is a lot about our identity and about who we are as a whole. So not only, in my opinion, is this new moon about us getting a fresh start to really embark on like a new cycle, a new story, a new chapter of life, a new life experience, but it's also, I think, about us to embarking on a new identity or reinventing, maybe I'll put it that way, us reinventing our identity, ourself, and who we are. Not only that, but I should also note as well that Aries is a Mars ruled sign, which is a lot about action and a lot about doing things, especially, again, doing things in a different way, with it being the first sign of the zodiac. So not only at this new moon in Aries are we getting a big boost here to start a new cycle of our life, a new chapter in life, and to reinvent ourselves to meet this new chapter in our lives, but we're also getting a little bit of a boost here to do and behave and act in different ways as well that are conducive to new life experiences. And to help us move forward in that direction. Not only that, but I should also note as well that Aries is a fire sign, which to me makes it very passionate, very excitable. And I do consider the fire signs to be a little bit more optimistic as well. So not only is this new moon in Aries about us getting a boost here to start something new, a big new chapter, new cycle in our lives, and to reinvent ourselves and do things differently and better in accordance with this new chapter in life here, but I think it's also about us getting more of our fire, our passion, our hope, our fuel, our optimism back for life as a result, so that we can move forward into these different experiences from here on out. Okay. And that, I think, is all that I want to say for the time being about the big themes of this new moon in Aries. Before I move forward, though, giving you more of the specific details of how this new moon is going to play out, I do just want to go backwards in time for a minute before I move forwards. And I want to go backwards in time to give you more of the context of how we got here and of why this is now a theme that's coming up to be felt, lived through, and experienced at this time. And to go back to give you the context, I'm going to go back a while, about 2 years ago now, I believe, although I do think this is one of the last times I'm going to go back this far. If you do not want to hear the context of this time period, before I hop into it, please note you can skip ahead in this video. I'll put the chapters down below in the description box, and you'll see them on the bar below the video so that you can navigate ahead of time. But I'm going to go into it right now. To give you the context, I'm going to go back to January to April of 2020. Yeah, let's do that. In between January to April of 2020, we had Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter all come conjunct here around 22, 23 degrees of Capricorn. What was that about? Well, that was about us realizing, I think, that we needed Jupiter big, Pluto change, Saturn in the structure of our lives, because the life that we'd been living for many months and years prior to that, especially 35 years prior, since that's how long it takes Saturn and Pluto to come conjunct, to overcome that, because we didn't like what we had been experiencing. Okay, so that's what happened there. January to April 2020, we realized we're not liking so much the experiences in life that we've been having for a while, and that we needed to make big change in order to overcome them and move on. Okay, even though that's what we realized in between January and April, though, I don't think we actually took action yet to really change our lives and to really fix anything in the way that it is that we needed. That was kind of keeping us stuck. Because of that, we then got to October of that same year, 2020, around a new moon in Libra here. And I think what happened in October of 2020 is that something occurred in our lives that either inspired, motivated, encouraged, or tricked us, whatever words you prefer, into actually making those changes we realized needed to happen the few months prior and between January and April of 2020. And because we finally got motivated, inspired, tricked, whatever, into doing that, we then at the next solar eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse here in December of 2020, actually then started to make the moves here to overcome old chapters of our life that had existed for many years prior and to move forward in a very, very different way. Okay, that then leads me now to the first half of the following year, from January of 2021 at that new moon in Capricorn all the way to June of 2021 to a solar eclipse here that we had in Gemini. What was that all about? Well, in between January and June of 2021, we were now starting to finally end an old chapter of life and create new and different experiences. But we were running into problems during this time period. Why were we running into problems doing that? We were running into problems because we still had a lot of old mindsets and emotions that were still stuck in the past, not allowing us to move forward. We were also having difficulty as well because I think there were a lot of physical things, people, places, jobs, things in our life that we were stuck in from the old chapter in life that also weren't where they needed to be in order for us to move forward, which was hard. But even though that was hard, I think by the time we got to June of 2021, we were able to cut out at least the physical things, the people, the places, the jobs, and the stuff that we did not like that was preventing us from moving onwards. That then leads me now to June 2021, again to Libra season over here, October of 2021. What happened then? Well, in between June to October of 2021, we then finally had cut out all these old people, places, and things in the physical that were bringing us down, and we were finally feeling more able now to move on into a different experience of life. But even though we were feeling more able to move on into a different experience in life and were in a physical way in a different experience in life, we realized we still hadn't worked on the mental and the emotional mindset enough, and that the mind and the emotions were still stuck in the past, recreating the same old scenarios we were trying to escape again now with the new stuff. We still hadn't healed the old emotional mindsets, recreating bad situations now with new things in our lives. That was very, very hard. Because of that, we then, during that time period, and especially October, when Mercury went retrograde here in Libra, we then started to adjust, I think, our perspective and our mindsets here so that that wouldn't happen, and so that we could stop repeating the same old patterns over and over again in different ways. And I believe that we were able to actually do that and to actually make that happen, which then leads me now to November of 2021, which was a new moon here in Scorpio. What happened then? Well, in November 2021, I think the new chapter in life that we've been working towards finally started to arrive in a very, very big way. Now that the old stuff had been cut out in the physical and we were emotionally and mentally changed here in order to move forward. I did think that that was a very, very good thing, but even though that was a very good thing, I think it came on too fast for us, faster than we were ready for, which was very overwhelming, I think, and a bit scary to us. And because of that, I think we then realized at that next full moon right after that, which was a lunar eclipse here in Taurus, also in November of 2021, that we need to slow our situations way, way, way down here, so that we can make sure that we were okay and that we were getting our bearings and that we were making the best decisions possible from which to move forward. Okay, and I do believe we did that, and I do believe that did help, especially at the next solar eclipse a month later here in Sagittarius in December of 2021. And it helped us in December of 2021, I think, to get insights from the divine, from our intuition, from our higher selves now, about what was really going on in our lives and what was meant for us next, and about how to approach it in a better way that was more aligned with our highest truth and with our highest purpose. Okay, and because we got some insights then at that next new moon here, which was in Capricorn in January of 2022 now, this year, we finally then were feeling more ready for the new chapter in life, and we started to receive actually the new chapter in life in the physical here more fully. I did think that that was actually a very, very good thing, but even though that was a very good thing, when we got to the next new moon here in Aquarius in February also of this year, 2022, I think we realized that while a lot of things were changing to be new and different, there were still one or two key areas of our lives that still had not fully transformed to be what they needed to be, and that were still stuck in old things from the past that were bringing us down. So we then in February of 2022 went to rescue those few parts, those one or two parts of our of our lives that still didn't feel like they were changed, transformed, so that we could break free from these old things and move on. And I think we were able to do that. And because we were able to do that, we then got to the next new moon, which was last month, March here, 2022, in Pisces. We then started to feel very good. We finally then in March 2022 started to feel like the old was leaving here in a better way. And like finally now the new stuff in life could come together. But even though we were feeling like the old was leaving and the new stuff was coming together, I think in March 2022, we also realized we still had a little bit of a lingering emotional fear here that was really keeping us stuck from embracing the new life in its fullness and from really utilizing it to its completeness and the way that it is that it could be. And so we did a lot of emotional work, I think, on ourselves in March of 2022 so that we could stop blocking our blessings and stop blocking this new chapter in life from actually happening. And because we did a lot of emotional work internally last month, especially now that the physical was seemed to be working itself out, we now get to this new moon, which is what this video is for here, the new moon in Aries this month, April 2022, and we finally now start to feel like, yes, the new chapter in life that I've been talking about since 2020 that I just mentioned can finally start to happen. Now this new moon, we feel like now the new chapter in life is here. We're ready to start a new, different, better cycle of our lives, and we're ready to reinvent ourselves and the way we act in order to move forward. And we're also feeling more passionate, excitable, and hopeful as a result now that things are coming together. Okay. And that's it. Because that was a bit here, I'm just going to repeat that one more time very, very quickly without the astrological jargon. So let me do that now. What is the big picture of this new moon in Aries? The big picture is that we're now finally ready in the physical and in the emotional for new and better experiences and a new and better chapter of our lives, which I think is going to be here with us for quite some time to actually occur and for us to more fully take advantage of it in a different way that's more positive, hopeful, excitable, and optimistic. Okay, and that's it. Because that's all I want to say for now about the context of this time period. I'm now going to go more into detail about this new moon itself, here and about what it's about and how it's going to play out over time. And to do that, I'm going to look at the specific astrological aspects that the moon itself is going to be making. All right, I'm going to start with the first one. I think the first ones that are happening kind of together that I want to talk about is right here. We see the new moon, 11 degrees Aries, and it's conjunct Mercury here, and it's conjunct Chiron here as well. So I want to talk about these 4 planets here in a conjunction. What is this about? Well, the new moon in Aries, remember, is about us now feeling ready and more willing to start finally a new and better significant chapter of our life that we've been working towards for quite some time. And it's in a conjunction here with Mercury. Mercury is a lot about thinking. It's a lot about thinking. Here it's also a lot about communicating. And with it being in Aries, it's us thinking and communicating about this new chapter in life and about this new person that we're becoming and about what we can do, Aries being an action sign, and how we can move it forward. So the first thing that I want to say more specifically about this new moon in Aries is not only that we're just feeling more ready to move forward and more able to move forward into a new and better chapter in life, but that we are doing a lot of thinking and a lot of talking here about this new chapter, about what's important to us, about what we want, about how we can go get it, and about everything that's coming up, especially in a very excitable kind of way. Okay, I do like that, but even though I do like that, I have to note here that Chiron being so close nearby is not really that pleasant. Okay, no matter what aspect really it's making. Chiron is not pleasant because it does have a lot to do with fears and triggers and insecurities in a lot of ways. So what does that mean to me so far? It means to me, yeah, that at this new moon in Aries, like a huge part of us, more than I think ever before, especially over the course of the past few years, we are now ready to move forward on a major new chapter, new cycle of life. And we're having a lot of excitable thoughts and conversations about what that is and who we're becoming and how we can do it and what new things we want to bring into our life that we're excited about. But even though we are ready in a big way, and even though we are having thoughts about it all and conversations that are very good, there's still a part of us that is still scared, Chiron, about doing it. There's scared about moving forward. And do I want to say hesitating? Chiron is fear, Aries is action, that there's hesitating still from fully moving forward in the way that it is that we might like, which is bringing frustration. You know, I think frustration, and especially when you get the Aries influence like anger, you know, Aries on the emotion spectrum to me goes more angry than sad. So there's a lot of frustration here, and there's a lot of anger that for as far as we have come, and as much emotional healing and physical healing that we've done, that we still are struggling to move forward in the way that we might like. And we're still afraid, right? It's fear. We're still afraid to do what we know we need to do in order to move forward, for fear that it won't work out, or that something will go wrong, or that something won't come together. Okay. Not only is that happening, but at the same time, this is going on here to branch out a little bit into other aspects. We've also got Mars here in a conjunction with Saturn, and this is also very unpleasant as well. Why is this unpleasant? Well, both Mars and Saturn are considered malefic planets, and which means they don't bring good things. They typically do bring challenging events more often than not. So that's why it's not that pleasant here. Saturn has a lot to do with restriction. Mars has a lot to do with aggression, and Mars is also the ruler of this new moon being correlated to Aries. So this is also not that pleasant, bringing what? Saturn, it's bringing a lot of restriction. We're feeling restricted Saturn and blocked Saturn from acting Mars, which is correlated to Aries, from acting on doing anything that we want to be doing here, which is making us frustrated, hesitate, and act out aggressively, or act out in weird ways that may be a bit here unhelpful. And that is pushing us, into just a lot of frustrations here. So I think that's the first group of things that I need to say so far about this new moon in Aries, is that, like, we feel like we're ready and we think we're ready, to move forward into a new, better chapter of life that has been a long story that we've been working for a while, but we're still not quite ready. We're still not quite ready to move forward, and we're still feeling stuck and blocked and unsure of how to act and hesitating, which is causing frustration, deep, intense, uncomfortable emotions, anger, aggression, or us acting out in very, very unhelpful ways. That's not that nice. Not that nice. But even though I want to note that these are unpleasant alignments, I don't think they stay that way for long, okay? The reason why I don't think that they stay that way for long is because the new moon is conjunct Chiron, and when a new moon conjuncts Chiron, it brings new energy, right? It starts a new cycle, so to speak, because new moons are about beginnings. So even though there is a good bit of tension here at this new moon in Aries, I don't think it stays that way because the new moon is transforming the tension. The new moon is helping us to work past it. Not only do I not think that the tension is that long lasting as well because of that, but you also have to note too that Chiron is direct and has been for a few months now and is moving past the degrees it was retrograde at all last year. And when a planet, especially Chiron here, moves past the degrees it was all last year, it means we're learning, and it means we're overcoming old struggles and able to work through them in a better way as we move forward and to heal them, right? If Chiron brings hurting, it can also bring healing. So what does that mean to me to continue bringing it together? That, yeah, we're trying to move forward into a new and better chapter in life here now that we think we're finally ready, and we're struggling to do so because we're still afraid, okay? But even though we're struggling to do so because we're still afraid, we are in fact, I totally believe this, 100% believe this, we are in fact learning how to overcome this fear of a new chapter in life and how to work with it better so that it does not get us down, and how to heal the anxiety surrounding it, especially too because Aries is a fighter. Aries is a fighter. It's a survivor. You know, Aries does not get sidetracked by little things. It faces things head on. So I believe that we are learning here now with this new moon how to more productively and healthily overcome any last lingering fears and blockages for real now, for realsies, preventing us from moving forward into a different chapter of life, okay? And how to move past it. And how are we learning now to heal this fear of moving forward into a new chapter in life? Well, I alluded to it in my last video, if you watched my last video for the full moon in Virgo, but I'm going to say it again here because it's still relevant. We're still figuring it out. How are we learning to overcome this fear? It's back to Saturn and it's back to Mars. Okay, Saturn and Mars to me are protectors. Both of them are protectors. Okay, why? Mars correlates to the sign of Aries. Yeah, Aries is a fighter. Aries can be very aggressive and very warlike, but when you're not feeling safe, who do you want on your side? You want an Aries to fight for you and to stand up for you, right? They're a protector. Okay, and Saturn too correlates to Capricorn, and Capricorn is a very public part of the chart here up at the top, can be very structured, can be very straightforward. So both of these planets to me have a lot to do with protection. Not only that, I should note Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Mars likes to be in Aries and Capricorn. Okay, it's exalted in the sign of Capricorn where it just went retrograde. Sorry, it didn't just go, where it just was, where it made a conjunction to Venus, which was retrograde there. And it's near Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn. So I think this is the solution. It's a little bit of a problem, but it's also the solution here. And what is the solution to help us overcome this fear? It's us learning here now that we can protect ourselves, that we are strong enough to fight for ourselves, to advocate for ourselves, to make things happen for ourselves, and to handle ourselves no matter what happens, good or bad, and to do the things that are Mars, that are necessary, Saturn, in order for us to feel safe. It's us realizing that. Not only is it us realizing here that we can protect ourselves and can make ourselves feel safe as we do these new things, but I also think as well that it is us putting, right? Mars is about action, putting Saturn structures in place, putting structures in place that will keep us safe. So it's not just in the mind only. This isn't just us realizing, oh, I can keep myself safe and I can protect myself. It's also very practical. It is us putting in the physical, practical structures in place here so that we can do that, so that we can keep ourselves safe as we move forward. And what is it that we're putting practically in place in the physical? Structures, boundaries, guardrails, contingency plans. These are the kind of things that I would think that we'd be doing now at this time here in order for us to move onwards. And doing that here, if we can make that happen, is then going to help. Okay, it's then going to help us what? New moon in Aries. Especially because I like this next 4 weeks a lot. It is then going to help us do this new chapter in life that I've been talking about for a while, and to seal the deal on that, and to actually make it happen, and to embrace it fully and wholeheartedly, and to continue bringing more new things still. It just never ends. Well, it is going to end next month, but next new moon. But we're to continue bringing more new things now into our lives that we need from a stronger, healthier, place as we move forward. Okay, especially too, that's what I wanted to get at with the Jupiter in a conjunction with Neptune at this new moon and in the days after. All right, and this is, I should note, a very rare alignment and a very, very good alignment. Why is this good? It's good because we have both Jupiter and Neptune here in their home sign of Pisces, so both of them like to be there. It's also rare because Jupiter and Neptune don't meet that often. They meet about every 13 years, I believe, and they don't always meet in their home sign. Sometimes they'll meet in other signs. Mostly, they'll meet in other signs, so they really don't have that much of an affinity for. So this is a really beautiful and rare alignment. And what is this all about? Well, Jupiter, Neptune, Pisces, they're all correlated to each other. There's a lot about wisdom and understanding. It's also a lot about releasing the past. Not only that, it's a lot about healed emotions, new emotions here. And it's also too, do I want to say, about synchronicities and support from the divine and gifts from the past, right? If Pisces has to do with the past. So what does that mean to me? It means to me that not only here are we learning this new moon how to heal any feelings of insecurity about a new life by putting structures in place in order to support ourselves, but that once we put those structures in place to support ourselves, we're going to be able to move forward on the new and better chapter in life. And we're going to be able to move forward on the new and better chapter in life much better than we imagined here, with tons of wisdom, tons of understanding, tons of synchronicities, support from the divine, tons of little miracles, if you will, to move forward here, with possibly for some of you even gifts from your past, things from the past returning and working out quite well here in order to now move you forward into this different way that it is that we need to move onwards. Okay. And I think that's it. I think that's all that I want to say here about this new moon in Aries. Because that's it, I'm just going to repeat those things one more time without the astrological jargon so you can get a better sense of what I think is going on here now. So let me do that. What I think is going on at this new moon in Aries is that we are feeling in some way more ready to move forward on a new, different, and better chapter in life that we've been really working towards for quite some time. And we're doing a lot of thinking and talking about how it's all going to come together. But even though we are ready and thinking about a new chapter of life, it's still not coming together fully, and it's still not moving forward, and we're still afraid to really move it forward and to take advantage of it in the ways that we might need, and hesitating, which is still making us frustrated, stuck, blocked, upset here, and a bit angry that things aren't coming together. But even though we are feeling blocked, stuck, upset, angry that things aren't coming together, I think think it's gradually dawning on us at this new moon in Aries that we cannot let these little fears get us down any longer, because they've already gotten us down for long enough. Not only is it dawning in us that we cannot let these little fears get us down anymore, and that it is finally time for us to face, conquer, yes, beat and heal them, but we also learn at this new moon in Aries that the way to fight, beat, heal, and overcome these fears is to realize that we can protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe no matter the outcome, and to put structures, boundaries, contingency plans here in place that it is that we need to actually make us feel safe in the physical, and us realizing that we're not afraid anymore and that we can handle ourselves, and putting the structures and boundaries in place in order to protect ourselves, then finally, I think, gets the new chapter in life moving and gets it on the road in a much better, more consistent way than it's ever been before. And not only that, but we finally also start to see a lot of good luck, a lot of little miracles, and a lot of support from the divine here to help us move forward even better than we expected here, with a lot of wisdom now, and possibly for some of you, some gifts from your past, some things from your past returning, I think, to work out even better, and to now finally move forward with more consistency in the ways that it is that you need to get this new show on the road here. Thank goodness, finally. All right, and I think that's it. What else do I want to note? I like to say a few other thoughts here now. I think the one thing I really just want to linger on here is the how to keep ourselves safe. I think that that's the most important thing here that I need to linger on. Why do I want to linger on that? Because one other thing I didn't really mention earlier in this point, and the reason why I want to linger on that is because the things to keep ourselves safe, the structures to do that, is correlated to the Saturn and Mars, at least in my opinion here, which are in a conjunction. But it also has to do with the fact that both Saturn and Mars are going to be in a square here, or are in a square with the nodal axis, which includes the South Node here in Scorpio and the North Node here in Taurus. Okay, what does this indicate? Well, when planets square the nodes, what they're called, do I want to say, is a skip step, according to evolutionary astrology, especially by Jeffrey Wolf Green, which is the type of astrology that I practice the most when I do interpretations and stuff. And skip steps here, which is a planet that squares the nodes, planet that squares the nodes is called a skip step, do tend to be planets that we skip doing. We don't do. We either don't do them at all, or we do them a little bit when we need to be doing them a lot more than we feel naturally inclined towards. So that's why I want to linger here when it comes to that, when it comes to the structures that we're putting in place to keep ourselves safe. I want to linger there because it's very, 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 very important that we do this, and that we do this enough, that we do this enough in the ways that it is that we need before moving forward into any new direction and into any new experience. Because if we don't do it, if we don't focus on it enough here, then what, right? Then what? Then what tends to happen is we feel stuck, not just now, but for many months and years to come. If we don't do this, we'll be stuck. Or if we don't do this, we may move a little bit for the next few months, but then all of a sudden things will come crashing down on us a few months from now. So that's why I need to linger on this and on the importance now of putting boundaries and structures in place in your life to protect yourself, or to make yourself feel safe with what happens from here on out, because it's super important. If you don't put, maybe to put it another way, if you don't put boundaries and structures in your life to protect you, to move forward, either you're never going to move forward into a new chapter in life because you don't feel safe enough. You don't feel strong enough. You don't feel like you can protect yourself. And then you're never going to get the new chapter in life that I'm talking about, because these things aren't guaranteed. I don't believe that. And you're going to look back 5 months from now, 5 years from now, and be like, my life has never changed. I'm still stuck in the same stuff, in the same drama from childhood, right? So that's why it's important. Not only are the boundaries and structures important, because some of you, if you don't do it, may never start a new chapter in life, but it's also important too, because if you move forward on the new chapter in life, but don't have any boundaries and structures to protect yourself in place, then what may happen is that a few months down the road, especially August, September, and October of this year, which look like a mess, some little thing might happen. Some little thing might happen to your beautiful, new, precious new life. Some little thing might happen, but you didn't protect yourself enough, and the whole thing falls apart. And the whole thing falls apart, and you're now back to square one. And you're left wondering, why didn't anything work for me? I had a new chapter in life. I will move forward on it. Why didn't anything come together? Well, this is why. This is why you have to do, it's super important. You have to put in the boundaries and structures here in order to protect yourself. I make it sound a little laissez-faire during the beginning of this video. Oh, we're going to do it. But it's super important here to make sure that yes, you do it and that it's consciously cultivated as you move forward. Okay. What do boundaries and structures to protect yourself look like? Well, I want to note there are two ways of thinking of this. There are the internal boundaries and structures, since Saturn sometimes has to do with the structure of our consciousness, and there are the external boundaries and structures. I want to note I'm referring to both, although I think the external is probably more important at this time. Okay, what are internal boundaries and structures to protect yourself? Okay, well, that can be a matter of a mental thing, okay? And a mental perspective and a mental belief system, or something like that. So to give you an example, what is an internal structure to keep yourself safe? Well, when you want to do something that's important to you and you get bad feedback, then you can have an internal structure where you support yourself and where you say, no, I'm not going to listen to unhelpful feedback because I know my value, I know my worth, I believe in myself and my value. So there are internal structures here that need to be put into place here in order to do that. Perhaps another internal structure I might think of might be something like mantras or reading supportive materials or inspirational materials or listening to podcasts that may also help too. So that when you're feeling scared, I'm doing a new thing and you're feeling scared and something bad happens or you start to doubt yourself, you say, no, I believe in myself, I'm fine, and I'm going to say a few mantras and I'm going to read some inspirational materials and listen to my inspirational podcast. I'm going to be back on track and I'm going to be good to go. And nothing's going to get me down, because when bad things happen, I have an emotional pick-me-up that I always go to that makes me feel good and that helps me come back home to myself and realize that I'm strong and I can do it and I can move on. So those are some things that some of you need to put into place that are going to be very, very, very helpful here to work some things that I'm talking about. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about that need to happen here. Okay. If we wanted to talk external now, what are the external things that might need to be put into place in order for you to protect yourself? Well, the phrase that what is it? Boundaries. Boundaries are super important. Here, maybe I'll list them first. Guardrails, contingency plans, criteria for what you're looking for, perhaps. What else? Like efficiency, productivity, structures, to make things more efficient, effective, especially under the full moon in Virgo, last 2 weeks ago. So what else can be done here? If it's not just, in order for you to protect yourself, if it's not just an internal thing here, you saying mantras, you holding true to your values and your beliefs about who you are, you reading inspirational and supportive materials to get you in the mood and to help you move on, well, then what else can you do is this: boundaries, guardrails, contingency plans, or coming up with more efficient workways or whatever you need here in order to move forward. What does that look like? I guess some of these could also be considered internal mental, but to me, for some reason, they appear to be a little bit more external. What else could this be? Well, let's say this. Let's say that some of you want to start a business, right? But you're struggling to start a business, right? What you may need to do, and maybe you're struggling to start a business here because of the money. Well, what you may need to do at this time is figure out what can you do with the money to make you feel safe enough now to start a business? Do you need to save money? Do you need to get a part-time job while you do your business? Do you need to change your business so that it can make money faster, sooner, in a better way in order to move on? Do you need to structure your business and the money a bit differently in order to move on? And if the business were to fail, do you need a backup plan, a contingency plan, right? These are the kind of things that would happen. Or if you're dealing with a relationship, right? There's a relationship, could be personal or professional, that you're either in a relationship with or want to get in a relationship with, and maybe you need to think of boundaries here and to set those boundaries up front so that you can know here what is tolerable in a relationship. What kind of behavior will I tolerate, will I settle for? And you can be very clear on that, and you can communicate that very clearly with another person so that you and they know, if you do these things, we're not going to work and this is going to end. Or if you do these things, things are going to come together so that you don't get taken advantage of, and you can feel safe as to move on and have some ideas about how things are going to go. So do you see this here? Structures, so let's start there. Structures to make you feel safe, to do something new and different is extremely important here. Must be done, I think, must be consciously cultivated here. And they can be either internal structures to pick yourself up when you feel down, mantras, reading materials, listening materials, or they can be physical things, physical boundaries, physical structures within your physical environment, so that enable you to do what you want to do better and in a way that's stronger and safer for you later on, so that you're not worried about being taken advantage of, and so that you know that you can work through these things no matter what. Okay. That's which can come in tons of different varieties here as you move forward. That is going to be the key here in order to move on. Not only that, but I want to note too, I feel like there needs to be multiple, because this is the skip step. Not only do you need to put in a structure internally or externally, but I want to reemphasize, I think it needs to be multiple. I think a lot of you need multiple. You need multiple boundaries, multiple contingency plans, multiple things here that you can go on in case one fails, in case one doesn't work, in case something else occurs. I think there needs to be multiple of these that need to be worked out and come together in some way, shape, or form before moving onwards in the ways that you need, because this is going to help. Sometimes we see boundaries, rules, and regulations as a bad thing. Oh, too many rules, too many regulations. But sometimes boundaries, rules, and regulations are a really beautiful thing, because they allow you to do what you want to do better. Knowing now where your limits are and what's going to work and what isn't. And I think that that's where we're at, especially too, I should note as well, with Pluto now getting to the last degrees of Capricorn very soon. Capricorn being correlated to Saturn, which is in a conjunction with Mars at this new moon, is about boundaries, is about protecting yourself, is about structures here. And Pluto at the last degree is saying, come on now. You've been learning about boundaries and structures since Pluto has been in this sign, about which ones do and don't work. Now figure it out. Now figure out which ones do work, and now start to put in better ones here, so that you're letting in what you need to let in, and you're keeping out what you need to keep out, so that you can move forward, Aries, more effectively here, doing what you want to do. Now is the time to figure this out here in order for us to move onwards. So I think that's what I want to say there. Yeah. What else do I want to note? One more thing about these boundaries and structures, here with the skip step, right? Saturn and Mars square the nodes, which is a skip step. Another thing about skip steps in evolutionary astrology is that they have a resolution node, which means that one of the nodes, either the south or the north, helps to resolve it better than the other and helps you to figure these things out more. In this case, the resolution node is the south node here in Scorpio. The reason why the resolution node is the south node in Scorpio, because Saturn and Mars most recently touched the south node, and therefore they're more like imbued with the flavor and the experience of the South Node here, and therefore it's more easy to understand and to work with and access that. And the South Node is here in Scorpio, which is a lot about change. It's also a lot about negotiations and trade-offs in some kind of way too. So another thing that I want to note as well is that for most of you probably, in order for you to put these structures in place mentally, or physically in your environment to protect yourself from downfall or calamity or whatever may or may not happen a few months down the road, a lot of you are going to need to go back to make changes. You're going to need to go back to old things in your life or things you thought you had worked out here in order to better change and rearrange and readjust those and renegotiate a lot of these old things, which could involve relationships and money with the Scorpio influence, to change, to rearrange, and to renegotiate those things in a safer way for you, where you feel much better in order to move onwards, but that will be a good thing to help you move onwards, okay? Okay. Yeah, you may have to go back to the challenge and the difficult stuff in order to fix it, and that's going to be more effective at doing so. All right, and I think that's all that I have to say for the time being, because that's it. I think I'm now just going to read your inside degree for this new moon. So let me get that up on the screen. The inside degrees were not written by me. They were written by another person named Alias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings for each of the degrees of the zodiac from Spirit. I like to read these just to give you another voice other than my own about how this energy here might play out and what it all means. The new moon in Aries is at 11 degrees. I think that's the one I like. That's the one I'm going to read. But if you would like to pause this video and look at 10 degrees here, you can read that as well. Well, do I want to? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to read 10. I'm going to read 10. Why not? I'm going to read 10, 11, and probably 12. I think I like them all. I think they all apply. I usually read all the ones around the new moon because to me they're all relevant, especially because the planets are in motion. So why not? Let's start at Aries 10. It says this: bondage and freedom sometimes go hand in hand. The bondage is being true to pattern, predictable, caught in habits and tendencies, perpetually left to grow like weeds. The freedom is that as you meet yourself starkly in the midst of these old tired patterns of behavior, you come into touch with a quickening flame of self-recreation, stimulated and forced by being at the mercy of the relentless pattern. So what does this mean to me? It means to me that, at this new moon in Aries, we are both free in the sense that we are ready to move on to new chapters, but we're also not free in the sense that we still feel unsafe as dictated by old patterns in a lot of ways as well. So I think that's the first thing that indicates to me, new moon in Aries, part of us feels ready to move on and part of us still feels tied to old fears that are keeping us stuck. But the thing that I also like about this is it says the quickening flame of self-recreation, stimulated and forced by being at the mercy of these patterns. So even though at this new moon in Aries, we've got freedom to move on, at the same time still stuck in old patterns, we are able to recreate ourselves or reinvent. I think that was a word I used at the beginning of this video. We are able to overcome these old patterns and to recreate ourselves through that tension here that's coming in. It says this: the impulse to make yourself over is fervently strong, courageous, ready, and willing. The old stuff dies hard. You are therefore engaged in a pitched battle of a protracted kind between retrogressive and progressive ideals, impulses, and desires. So this to me also indicates too that, part of us is ready and free to move on into a new chapter, but we're still stuck in some old fears that we're still feeling a bondage to. But we don't like that tension. And because we don't like the tension, we're confronting it head on so that we don't have to deal with the fear and the blockages anymore. And that's very good, even though it does feel like a bit of a battle. a knockdown, it goes on, a knockdown, drag out battle of wills. The atavistic, backward-leaning will feels immune to change. The visionary, forward-thrusting will feels moved by evolutionary forces never to give up. Yeah. Eventually, the future prevails over the past, but not before scars and multiple traumas mark the spot. So I think that's what I have to say there. New Moon in Aries, there's equal impulse forward, equal impulse fear, still lingering, but because of the tension now, the new force to move forward confronts the old and fights with it, even though it's difficult, so that we can heal and overcome the fear and finally be able to move on. You know, and that to me, maybe to add something else to that, is that is kind of like what Aries is about. I mean, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's a Mars ruled sign, and it's masculine, right? Like, it doesn't let these things get them down. It moves on here. And I should also note too, that being the first sign of the zodiac, you know, Aries is a lot about life, new life, starting life, you know, so it has to do with the seed, starting life and a new life. And a lot of times when you start something new, or when there's a new life, there is like a battle for survival. You know, if you think about like when you plant a seed in the ground, not all the seeds you plant usually grow. And if you think about like the first few days of like a baby's life, which I think a lot of Aries has to do with as well, there's always like this tentative part as well. So I think that is Aries is the fight for life, like the fight to live and to succeed and to grow and to not be stuck in these old things and to move on. And I think that that's what's happening here, and that we will be able to move forward. Okay. Especially as we move into the next degrees, because the next degrees get more optimistic. I'm going to read Aries 11 now, which is the actual degree of the new moon. Okay, it says this: the marvel is that the observer exerts so strong a presence, yet disappears into the atmosphere. You find yourself to be centrally pivotal, yet subtly and underlyingly a pure witness to the objective turn of events. You inhabit the edge between self-will and higher will. So what does that mean to me? Well, it means to me that in Aries 11, we finally have fought the old patterns, the old fears, and we have started to overcome them. And because we have started to overcome them, a higher self emerges, a higher, healthier, more pure desire, Aries and drive to act starts to emerge. That's helping us feel much better and more transformed. We are endowed here with the power of wishing, the capacity to visualize and imagine what comes next, an astounding skill at coming back to life, recreating everything, taking into yourself world's ending and world's beginning. Yeah, being reborn. So that's encouraging. And then I wanted to look at the last one, Aries 12. Soul gifts from the morning of the world now turning into treasures untold, a quality of being a presence and aura which fills the world. You are the microcosm here and now for so many worlds. There's wonder and awe, discovery, and an odd echo of fate. All this has happened before, nothing is new, a twilight state, so much to conceive. Yeah, so what does that mean to me? It means to me that, yeah, at first, I see them as a progression, that at first in this new moon in Aries, we want to move forward, but we're still stuck in old patterns. It's frustrating. We have to confront the old patterns now from a freer place, which is hard, but we do it. And once we do it, we activate a higher will, a stronger sense of self now, that's more pure, that's more healthy in a lot of ways. And that then helps us to see with Aries 12 that we've got lots of potential and a lot of things to do and a lot of ways to move that are really, really good here. And that we've got like a blank slate here from which to finally move forward, and that we can actually do it and create whatever it is that we hope to create from here on out. Okay, and I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say. I also, well, one more thing. I also thought it was interesting as well in Aries 12, it does talk about, oh, where was it? Nothing is new. There's wonder and discovery. All of this has happened before. Nothing is new. And we do have the Jupiter Pisces stuff. So I also want to note as well that whatever once we conquer the fear and move forward, whatever new thing we're embarking on, could be something very old. And what I mean when I say very old, could be something very old from childhood where you're recovering like a part of yourself that was lost a really, really long time ago to now move forward in a new, different, and better way. And it also too makes me want to note as well that for some of you, there's something from the past returning that you thought was dead or wasn't going to work out or like wasn't ready or something. Not for all of you, obviously, but for some of you, either something from the past is returning now to restart itself finally with more reliability and trustworthiness after this point, especially as we get to the full moon, I think in Libra, and onwards. Or if something from the past isn't returning, that we're learning how to understand, right, what happened from the past that was old and how to move on in a different and better way. So I just wanted to note there is something like that going on here as well. And that for some of you, the new stuff is basically the old being refreshed in some kind of way. Okay, but you got to be careful with that and use your discretion with how that goes and make sure you've got the boundaries in place to protect yourself from these old things that are coming back so that the same stuff doesn't repeat. But I did want to say that as well. Now I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to pull your card. We've got the 10 of Wands reversed. What is this? The word that comes to me is lay down your burdens, the phrase, lay down your burdens here. The 10 of Wands upright is like overworked, overstressed. It's reversed. It's saying you have to find a way to let go of your burdens, to let go of your worries, and to let go of your struggles here as you move forward so that you can become, reborn or renewed, which I think the structures and strategies are going to help with. Another thought too that I had from this card is like overcomplicating things. Some of you may be overcomplicating because there's so many wands here. It's like a mess. So another thing that I wanted to note as well is that in order for some of you to really overcome this fear, some of you may be thinking too complicated about how things need to be changed, and that in order to restructure your lives, it actually may be a very small, simple solution or small, simple solutions, multiple. And that when you start thinking in that way, it might make everything a lot better here, because I don't think that these things need a big hand. I think a few smaller things are probably going to be just right. Another thing too, this person in this card is like hiding behind his work, his stress and his burdens and all this stuff going on. So I think another way of putting it is not only is this card saying like you got to let go of your stress and your burdens and realize that there's probably a simpler way to do that than you think. But that some of you need to come out of hiding, all right? Especially after Pisces season, and this being the first new moon of the astrological new year, some of you I think have been so scared to move on that you've been hiding at home, hiding in your work, burying yourself in work. And I think there's also a note as well of once you let go of your stress and figure out how to protect yourself, which is probably very simple, there is a need to come out of hiding here and to engage with your life, with people, and to maneuver it forward in a better way, to be seen, because you're going to be fine in the ways that you need. The card at the bottom of the deck is the 9 of Cups reversed. The 9 of Cups reversed to me is about a lack of fulfillment. But I actually feel like there's a lot of potential to be very emotionally content and fulfilled in life, especially over the course of the next few weeks as Jupiter continues to make a conjunction with Neptune, and Venus is eventually going to join Jupiter and Neptune as well, which is also beautiful because Venus is exalted in Pisces, so they're all going to be like a love fest together in 3 or 4 weeks. So I actually feel like there's a lot of happiness, joy, contentment, more so than we've seen in a very, very long time in our lives to occur. So I think what this card makes me want to say is that On the other side of this hiding and of this fear and of this stress is actually a lot of joy and a lot of contentment and a lot of happiness that maybe you can't see now. And the minute that you let go of your burdens and protect yourself better and come out and do things that you need and rearrange things that you need, like, it's going to work out. You know, to restructure thing, it's going to work out, and it's going to work out better, even better than you thought here, in order to move forward and to really not be afraid, you know, that there's more good news and good luck perhaps to go around at this time than you might think, and to not be afraid once you've protected yourself and put the structures in place to take risks, you know, to go for the gold, you know, to try your luck, because I think you might be better off. You know, Aries to me is a risk taker. You know, it's especially with the sun being in exaltation there, you know, Aries is a risk taker. It'll take risks. Doesn't know if they'll work out, but it'll try. And so I think maybe that's another message too, is that once you've released your stress and your burdens and figured out how to better protect yourself internally and externally, which I think is very simple, you got to come out of hiding, come out of the shadows. You got to try things. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to try things that you think are risky, especially if you really want it, especially if it's really close to your heart. You got to try things here because they might actually work out better than you thought. Either they'll work themselves out better than you thought, or something else will come as a result of these things, which will be even better here. And to not hold back, like, don't let fear of things not working out be your downfall. Like, I think things are gonna turn out just fine here, and you gotta let yourself move forward in the ways that it is that you need here. There's still a need to be practical, you know, but know that I think, especially in the short term, the long-term future is a different story. All right, like the end of this year looks like a challenge, but at least in the short-term future here, things look very good. And to know that, and to adjust your life circumstances with hope and positivity and optimism in mind. Okay, and I think that's all I have here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you liked it, please like it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and I will talk to you. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you on the next video.